Hey everybody, Mike with Dark Star Arms. Welcome back. Today I'm going to take you through a step-by-step process of cleaning an AR-15. As you see in front of me, I have an AR-15. This is actually a Knight's Armament SBR that I had. I've had for quite a few years. Phenomenal rifle all around. There are a few proprietary things about Knight's Armament that make it a bit unique, but as a whole, it's a standard AR-15, just a very high quality one. Obviously, you can see I have optics, I have a light, I've got a suppressor, made some modifications to it, but again, base platform is an AR-15. So to start, before we do anything, before we handle the rifle, we're going to make sure it's clear. I have a flag in it right now, so you can see that it's clear. I'm going to go ahead and remove that. And then we will get started. So what I'm going to do to begin, I'm going to take the upper receiver off of the lower receiver here. And by doing so, there's a couple of quick takedown pins. See if I can do this backwards. There's the rear takedown. And generally you don't want to do that, but that's okay. That suppressor on there, so it's a little bit heavier weighted. So then I'm going to go ahead and set my lower receiver aside for the time being, because I am going to focus on the bolt carrier group and the barrel to begin with. All right, folks, so as I said, I am going to focus on the barrel and the bolt carrier group in this upper receiver. So to remove the bolt carrier, I am going to pull back on my charging handle, slide the bolt carrier group out, and I will go ahead and take my charging handle out as well. So I'm going to set the upper receiver aside for the time being, and I'm going to focus on cleaning the bolt carrier group, taking it down, taking it apart, cleaning it really well, lubricating it, and putting it back together. So what I like to do, I like to take an old shop towel or something that isn't super important to you. Obviously, I've used this; it's pretty dirty, but just to kind of protect your bench, keep any solvent or anything away from your workspace, off your table. To start, there's a small pin we need to remove. So I'm going to go ahead and grab my needle nose pliers, make it easy on myself, work smarter, not harder. Remove that pin. Then the firing pin will come out. Then you can rotate the bolt by pushing it back. Rotate the small detent here. It's not actually a detent. There is a technical name for it, which is why I have a nice armorer's mat under here where I can look up and tell you exactly what that component is called. It is going to be number 68, and 68 on my map refers to your cam pin. So that is a technical name for this. This is your cam pin. Should have known that, but I have my handy dandy mat just in case. So now I can remove the bolt itself out of the carrier. You can see my hands are already getting pretty dirty. This rifle has been used quite a bit. It's actually a perfect opportunity to clean it. Some people are religious about cleaning their guns. I tend to be that way, especially in a home defense situation. I want to have a clean rifle, well lubricated. If you're going out to the range a few times, just putting a couple rounds down range, not necessary to clean it every single time, but again, if I'm going to store something for a long period of time, if I'm going to put it back in the safe and not use it, I like to put it away clean. So I'm going to go ahead and take my solvent. This is some shooter lube solvent. You can really use CLP or any kind of firearm solvent. I'm going to go ahead and just spray all these components down, including the charging handle. Give it a real nice soak. We're going to let it set just for a little while in there. Make sure you spray all the surfaces of your bolt. I like to spray down my cam pin, and certainly the firing pin, which you can see as I'm rubbing it with my fingers is already starting to get clean, just because of the solvent that I had on my hands. But again, I'll give that a good spray down as well. So what I like to do, your standard household Q-tip, very easy. I like to go ahead and start with the bolt carrier itself. Get in there, try to get as much of that gunk and fouling as you can, all that carbon buildup. And again, this is not a perfect clean. You're not going to, if you really wanted to go out and take it, put it in a parts cleaner, if you had one, if you wanted to soak it in, whatever it be, acetone or something like that, you certainly can. I would be cautious about using, super solvent chemicals like acetone. Some of the finishes on the bolt carriers, whether that be nitrite or something else, could be affected. I have not experienced any issues with that, but again, just use caution. And we're going to go ahead and we're just going to try to stir this around, disturb it a little bit, just try to get as much of that fouling and, carbon off of this as you can. So I'll take this, I'll use some paper towels. That's why I've got my handy shop towels right here. I like to use shop towels because they tend to not fray as much. You're not going to get kind of that dust and cotton or what have you on the bolt carrier, especially your bolt. That's something you want to consider. You really don't want anything extra on here if you can avoid it. So I'm going to take some shop towels and I'm going to start rubbing these down, trying to get them as clean as I can. But again, not perfect, but you want to try to just get as much of that fouling off of it because that will make your rifle function smoother, more reliably, and that is what you want at the end of the day, is a reliable rifle. So I'm going to just clean as much of that solvent as I can off. Pretty straightforward. Give it a good wipe. And as you can see, we're getting quite a bit of excess carbon and things. I tend to shoot my rifle suppressed. That's another thing that you would want to consider. If you're running suppressed, you're obviously going to have a lot more gas coming back into the system. And it will, dirty up your rifle quicker. So if you want to take that into consideration, I would definitely recommend, maybe a few hundred rounds, taking it apart, giving it a quick clean. Again, this is not a lengthy process. It's not difficult. It's a little messy, but you can go wash your hands, you'll be just fine. All right, so we got that. I'm going to dry off our can pen, and then we are going to reassemble. So in order to reassemble, I'm going to take some lubricant. This is Hops number 9. This is a black series. It's really good. It actually smells like grapes. So that's a bonus if you like the smell of grapes or grape candy. But this is a great lubricant. Again, there's tons of lubricants out there that you can use. I like this. It's worked well for me in the past. So I'm going to go ahead and whip the shaky hands that I always have. I'm going to put some right on the rings back here. I'm going to put some right on this little ridge right here. And just using your fingers, kind of distribute that around. Those are really the only two surfaces, these rings right here and this small ridge right here, that you're going to want to lubricate on your bolt itself. So then reassembling, obviously the ejector side is going to go on the ejection side of the bolt carrier. We're going to go ahead and get rid of that piece of paper towel because we do not want that. Then we're going to give it a quick rotate, and you'll see that the hole inside the bolt lines up right here. This is where our cam pin goes back in. Going to go ahead and slide our cam pin, and then you're going to rotate it 90 degrees, and now that is all set where it needs to be. Then we're going to take our firing pin and through the back, reinsert it into the bolt carrier. It should drop in nicely. And then the final step is we are going to take the pin that we originally took out. That goes right back in this hole. Being mindful to maybe put a little pressure, just keep the firing pin in place. So there you go. Bolt carrier is put together. Now, before I reinstall this, and I'm not going to do it right now because I still have some cleaning to do, but I will lubricate the outer surface of the bolt carrier. Right along here on the upper ridge, next to where the gas tube comes in. And then on these side rails on the bottom, I sometimes put a little on the bottom here. Don't really mess with this because this is more interfacing with the buffer spring, so it's not necessary. But of course you can put a little lubricant on there. A lot of the gentlemen that are used to firing belt feds or a lot of full auto, they soak down their bolt carrier group just to make it function a little bit better. Again, it will get messy, but that's why we clean. So that was the first step, and then of course charging handle. This will just get a little dirty. I tend to put a tiny bit of lubricant on it, but again, I'm only pulling the charging handle a few times during a shoot, so really not critical to lubricate this, but I like to because I think it helps and prevent wear and tear in the long term. So we'll go ahead and set those aside, throw away our old Q-tips here, put our lubricant aside for the time being, and then just clean up the workspace real fast, and we will move on to cleaning the barrel. Now, of course, you can take your lower receiver apart. Really, the only thing I would do for that, maybe take out the trigger group, clean it, re-lubricate it, put it back in. I do not do that very often. I tend to use drop-in trigger packs for most of my rifles, so I can just easily pop those two pins, take it out, give it a little lubrication, put it back in. I may do this every 1,000 rounds to take out the trigger pack and actually clean that. But again, it's not necessary. It's not something you're going to do as frequently as you will what I'm showing you today. So I'm going to take the suppressor off, because we do not need that. And then you can see right here we have more or less a stripped upper receiver. It does not have the bolt carrier group in it. Has a muzzle device on it for that suppressor. This is the key mount muzzle device, so that's what I like to run with my suppressor, so I can run multiple suppressors on different platforms. So what we're going to do to clean this, and again, there are multiple ways of cleaning your barrel. You can use a bore snake like I have here. This is just wrapped up, but it's a kind of cloth with some abrasive material in it that'll help scrape any of that fouling out of the barrel. I like to use, this is an old case I've had since I was a kid from Field and Stream. It's just a very basic gun cleaning kit. Has your rods and your patches in there. So as you can see, got my patches, have some rim oil, cleaning oil and lubricant, have my rods, different caliber, different brushes, different wipes, all of that for your different calibers. I mean, you can clean a shotgun using this case if you wanted to. What I'm going to focus on today is using some of these wipes and my cleaning rods to get down the barrel. Keeping in mind that this is an SBR rifle. It's an 11.5-inch barrel, so it's short. I don't need all the rods. I'm not going to put the end on it with the handle. Don't really need to. You certainly can for longer rifles, 20, 22, 24-inch barrels. You will definitely need the extra extension. You may want the handle depending on how you're manipulating it. But again, this should do the trick. So I'm going to pull out my little tube here. It has all the different kind of punches, or not punches, excuse me, but the little tools that hold the wipes and other things. So I'm going to get the one for a 5.56, which will be this smaller one. Put all these back so we don't lose them. And then we will get to cleaning. So I'm going to use the same solvent that I use to clean the bolt carrier and the charging handle. And I will show you how to do that. So I'm going to screw this in, get that nice and tight, snug down. Doesn't have to be perfect. I'm going to go ahead and grab a couple of our wipes, and we will get started. So all you do is take one of your wipes, pull it through, so it looks like something like that. I'm going to spray over my towel here so I don't get any extra on the bench if I don't need to. So I have my wipe in the end of our cleaning rod here. I've sprayed it with a little lubricant, or not lubricant, solvent, excuse me. So we're going to just pick it up and run it down until you see it come out. There it comes out, and we're going to pull it back. So by the looks of this wipe, it's honestly not as dirty as I expected it to be. So I'm going to go ahead and run another clean patch down there, and we will repeat the process. Just push it down, get any of that residual solvent out, and it should be more or less clean. Now there are specific or special bore solvents you can use. Hops number 9 makes a great one. I will actually demonstrate that here shortly. And that nice squeaky clean means it is squeaky clean. So there's still a little bit on there, but not too bad. But for peace of mind's sake, since I've already got this taken apart and I'm going to go through a full cleaning process, I am going to pull out the bore cleaning solution. So this bore cleaning solution, Hops number 9, gun bore cleaning solution. So this is a heavy duty solvent. This is great for getting rid of copper fouling in your barrel. A lot of barrel manufacturers require a specific barrel breakdown period or break-in period. And that requires, intermittent cleaning, maybe 3 rounds, then clean it, 4 rounds, clean it, 5, so on and so forth, until that barrel is properly broken in by the manufacturer specs. So I have used this quite a few times. It is stinky. It is nasty stuff. So again, be careful. I only poke a small hole so I don't spill it all over. And then, spill it like I did there, but not too bad. And then we're going to go ahead and do the same exact process. We're going to run that down the bore. Sometimes it takes a little pressure. There we go. And you can see, got a little bit more on there, but again, not too bad. It's not all blue, so there's not a ton of copper fouling on there. Go ahead and throw these away. And then once more, I'm going to take a clean wipe, put it through there, get any of that residual solvent out of the barrel. All right, so we're going to go ahead and get that started. I can already hear it squeaky clean. Got it all the way down. Okay, so now that we've done that, our barrel is clean. Now what some people do, I tend to do it as well, is just kind of clean out this area in here. So I'm not going to use my, well actually I will use some bore solvent since I have it right here. It's not going to hurt anything, and it is kind of a two-step process. I'm cleaning up and I'm cleaning my rifle. So I'll take a little patch, just kind of run that through here, get more solvent, or more fouling, excuse me. This is where you get a lot of your gas back in the system back here, so it will get dirty. Just kind of give it a good wipe down, making sure to pay attention to the bolt face here, or the face of the barrel where the bolt interfaces. Just try to clean that out, give it a good wipe. And again, we're not looking for perfection here, but anything is better than having a dirty rifle. Okay, so now that we have all the key components to our rifle clean, we're going to go ahead and reassemble. So I'm going to take my lubricant, I'm going to take my charging handle first. You're going to slightly insert your charging handle. You'll see there's two nubs on your charging handle. There's a hole or a cutout in the upper receiver. Stick that down in there until it sets, or until it seats. Push it forward just a hair. Then I'm going to go ahead and take my bolt carrier, and I'm going to lubricate my bolt carrier. So again, these rails right here, let me actually open the bottle, that'd probably be helpful. So we're going to put a little bit right here, a little bit on this bottom rail right here. I put a little dab underneath, and then I put a little dab here and here. As you can see, this lube comes out pretty quickly, but again, I'll just smooth it around. This is probably over lubricated, but again, I'm going to be storing this rifle for a little bit, so it's not going to cause a problem, and it will only help moving forward. So we got our good lubricant there. Don't need to put any there. So what we do now is we align the gas port and we get it seated. Oh, well, yes. So you want your bolt to be all the way forward. You can easily just pull it by hand or give a little flick. We'll get that lined up. And then push that forward. And we are completely reassembled. Now I'm going to go ahead and grab my lower receiver, which I set down here, and we are going to reattach it. Get that front takedown pin, rear takedown pin lined up, push those through. Let's do a quick function test. Beauty. So I can feel that that is nicely lubricated. I know that the barrel is now clean. I know that the bolt carrier is clean. I know that it's going to function well. I can now go put this in the safe if I wanted to. I can put it right back in the range bag, take it back out to the range, put some rounds through it. But in a nutshell, that is how easy it is to clean an AR-15. Again, focus on your bolt carrier group, get that as clean as possible. Clean your barrel. Again, I clean my barrel intermittently. I don't clean it as much as I do my bolt carrier group because the bolt carrier group is going to be a lot dirtier just from all the blowback and the gas and that carbon that builds up in there. So you do want to clean your bolt carrier group every couple hundred rounds. Again, if you have a nitride coated one or some other sophisticated or more advanced coating on it, you may need to clean it less. But again, just, it's good habit to clean your rifle often, especially if you're running it hard, you're putting a lot of rounds through it, you're running it suppressed, you're running it fully automatic. Those all contribute to it getting dirty and, having potential jams or misfire, or not misfires, but failure to feeds, jams, things like that. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Again, Mike with Dark Star Arms. If you did, please like, subscribe, and we will see you on the next one.